All right. Canelo Alvarez. According to Oscar De La Hoya, Canelo Alvarez team had already made an offer to fight Jermall Charlo, but Jermall Charlo turned it down. If you believe that, I've definitely got a bridge to sell you, but let's talk about what Oscar De La Hoya said in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And also special thank you to all the Patreons. Thank you to the patrons over on the Patreon page. Thank you so much to everybody that has joined the channel by clicking that join button, and everybody else that comes by the live streams Monday through Fridays and OG Boxing Talk on Sunday. And of course, for the people that watch the videos that we do daily. All right, so let's get into this, man. I was going into my son's basketball practice and I was just, looking up the news, seeing what was going on in boxing, and I ran across an interview for Oscar De La Hoya on YouTube. I do believe it was either Pheno Boxing or Fight Hype. Can't recall which one. But shout out to both those channels. It might have been on both of them because Oscar De La Hoya is clearly, people catch up to Oscar De La Hoya at events. So somebody had asked him about Jermall Charlo, and Oscar De La Hoya said that they had made an offer to Jermall Charlo for the Canelo fight. I think he also said it was a big offer, but they turned it down. Now, he said that he knew it wasn't Jermall Charlo that turned it down, and he couldn't remember who it was that turned it down, but they turned it down. Okay, sure. Yeah, and yeah, right. Get out of here, man. Canelo Alvarez, first of all, Canelo Alvarez, the background on this is Canelo Alvarez, in my opinion, and Oscar De La Hoya have been avoiding Jermall Charlo and Jermall Charlo for a very long time now. They were both at 154 pounds at the time, and then Canelo Alvarez moves to 160. Jermall Charlo moves to 160. Jermall Charlo becomes the mandatory for Canelo Alvarez. Then Canelo Alvarez is given a franchise championship. So basically he vacates that belt to get out of to becoming a mandatory. Now, why would Canelo Alvarez fight guys like Rocky Fielding instead of fighting Jermall Charlo? If Jermall Charlo doesn't want a big payday or something. Jermall Charlo has been calling for that fight for a very long time. People have been talking about that fight for years now. And just the idea that they made some big offer that wasn't turned down by Jermall Charlo, it was turned down by somebody else, just sounds really, really suspect. Also, think about this. Oscar De La Hoya said that he didn't know who it was that turned it down. I know that Oscar De La Hoya knows who Al Haymon is. I know that he knows how to get in contact with Al Haymon. But I also know that Oscar De La Hoya sued Al Haymon, and Oscar De La Hoya held on to that lawsuit with Al Haymon longer than even Bob Arum has held on to the issue that he had with Al Haymon when Al Haymon founded the PBC. So the fact that they would not fight, along with the fact that he probably doesn't, that Jermall Charlo is going to be a good fight for Canelo Alvarez. Now, I'm not going to say I know for sure who's going to win that fight, but I'll tell you this: Jermall Charlo has as good a chance of beating Canelo Alvarez, or a better chance of beating Canelo Alvarez than Danny Jacobs did. He's got a better shot of beating Canelo Alvarez than Rocky Fielding did. He's got a better chance. I think he has got a better chance of beating Canelo Alvarez than Sergey Kovalev did, because Jermall Charlo has not been knocked out, and he dang sure ain't been knocked out 2 times. But I think the likelihood that Oscar De La Hoya is really trying to do business with Al Haymon and the PBC on that level, I don't believe it, man. I don't believe that he'd pick up the phone and call Al Haymon, that he would forget Al Haymon's name. He's just out there saying that nonsense because he knows that that Canelo Alvarez really, man, he's running out of opportunity, man. Not running out of opportunity because with that DAZN contract, he can fight, tomato cans and make a lot of money until DAZN pulls the plug on it, which eventually they will. I have a hard time believing they're actually getting the bang for the buck out of Canelo or Anthony Joshua or the other guys, Gennady Golovkin, that they thought that they were going to get, because they're out here co-featuring YouTube fighters and NFL players fighting each other. But anyway, Canelo Alvarez is, at a certain point in time, man, Canelo Alvarez is really going to have to just sit down, and I don't believe that he can avoid Jermall Charlo forever. And if there's one person that people talk about consistently with Canelo Alvarez fighting, that's Jermall Charlo, and it's been that way for a while now. So he's gonna have to address the questions. He's gonna have to come, but just to come out and say that you made an offer to somebody, that is completely unbelievable. Now, there's also there's also a chance that Oscar De La Hoya didn't really know what's going on. That's a possibility with that as well, because you see a lot of confusion going on between Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez's camp, right? One examples of this of what could be considered miscommunications, if you believe it, is how Canelo Alvarez was stripped of the IBF belt because he wouldn't fight his mandatory challenger in Sergey Deverenchenko. Now, the IBF, and my hat goes off. If I had a hat, I would take it off to the IBF, because the IBF is the sanctioning body that really does follow its rules the most carefully, because they actually stripped Canelo Alvarez for not fighting his mandatory. But after Canelo Alvarez was stripped of the belt, Canelo Alvarez, I think through Eddie Reynoso, it might have been through Eddie Reynoso, or it might have just been Canelo Alvarez on social media, said that that he didn't know that he was supposed to fight Sergey Deverenchenko, or he didn't know that he was given a deadline to fight him. So he was really upset that he had gotten stripped. I don't know if I believe that out of Canelo either, because if that's the case, man, you could have just went on ahead and fought Sergey Deverenchenko. Said, okay, hey, you stripped me, but let me fight it for my belt again, instead of Gennady Golovkin fighting for it. But there's just so many things that come up out of Golden Boy where you just got to question with these guys. You have to question their honesty. And that's been going on for a while. But this particular thing with Jermall Charlo, man, it just reeks of, I don't believe you. Because I think Oscar De La Hoya, like a lot of people, right? Like a lot of people, but especially Oscar De La Hoya, can be a little bit vindictive. And he's got and I believe Oscar De La Hoya has a very, very huge ego and can be very stubborn, because when he was working and somebody that's not particularly loyal, right? Somebody that's not a particularly loyal individual. You could look at that, what happened with the whole thing with Floyd Mayweather Jr. when Floyd Mayweather Jr. was basically, he had founded Mayweather Promotions and he was working with Golden Boy. And they were having that whole most of that contract for the Showtime contract, that $200 million contract, which was the biggest, guaranteed contract in boxing history at the time. Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy were over there at Showtime and fighting, and Floyd Mayweather Jr. was fighting a lot of Golden Boy fighters. In fact, most of a lot of the big name PBC fighters were formerly Golden Boy fighters. And that whole rift that took place, you could hear the way that Oscar De La Hoya would consistently just predict that people are going to beat Floyd Mayweather Jr. He had an attitude with Floyd Mayweather Jr. the whole time, just call him a spoiled little baby. Big issues with Floyd Mayweather Jr. It's hard for me to believe that Oscar De La Hoya still doesn't have that ill will towards the PBC, Al Haymon specifically, but also just the PBC in general. I'm sure he would, if he could, re-sign some of the fighters and take them back over to Golden Boy, like the Abner Marizes, probably Jermall Charlo. If he could, I don't think Errol Spence was ever with Golden Boy, but he'd love to have those guys. But I just don't believe that he really wants to work in a partnership to put on an event with the PBC. So, I just think Oscar De La Hoya is making that up. I don't see a Canelo Alvarez Jermall Charlo fight happening just because of that reason. But I just wanted to go over that this morning. I hope everybody is well. Thank you very much for watching the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.